That's it. So, goodbye from me. Now on BBC One, let's join our news teams where you are. Have a very good evening.
Good evening. You're watching BBC Newsline. The headlines this Friday evening. Another blow for consumers as 2 electricity suppliers announce plans to raise prices.
Electricity prices could continue to rise, and the signals coming from the utility regulator are that could be happening for at least another 6 months to a year.
The SDLP's Claire Hanna says she believes the Assembly will survive in spite of the DUP's threat to withdraw ministers from Stormont.
We will make a call on this when we think the time is right to make a call on it. So, the next short period is going to be absolutely crucial.
The Department of Health is to get an extra £200 million as the result of a budget reallocation at Stormont. This County Down singer who appeared on the BBC show The Voice is found guilty of exposing himself in view of a 12-year-old girl. Also on the programme.
I'm live in scary Derry where Halloween is back and bigger than ever.
History-making Paralympian Kelly Gallagher retires from the sport. We have a special interview with our Golden Girl.
And as Halloween approaches, we leave British summertime behind us as well. The evenings are getting darker. Rain or showers in the forecast. It's getting a little cooler as well.
Well, first tonight, it seems that barely a week goes by without us having another report on soaring energy bills. Well, today, another blow for households as 2 more electricity suppliers say they're putting up their prices. Experts say it's all pointing to a difficult winter ahead. Our business correspondent, Clodagh Rice, has the details.
The rate at which energy bills are rising is scary. Business customers like this shop in Lisburn have already seen a jump in their electricity bills.
I'm already cut down. This shop has over 100 lights in it. I'm using 16 at the minute. The last bill was £300. The next one with the late nights and the 7-day weeks is easily going to be £1,000 plus. So it's going to be tight trying to find the extra money to pay for that.
2 electricity suppliers in Northern Ireland are putting residential prices up. SSE Electricity is putting prices up for the 3rd time this year, by 9% from December 1st, which could add about £62 a year onto the typical household bill. It has 162,000 customers. Meanwhile, Budget Energy is putting up prices for the 4th time this year, by 29% from November 26th, which could add about £208 onto the typical household bill. It has 96,000 customers here.
Electricity prices could continue to rise, and the signals coming from the utility regulator are that could be happening for at least another 6 months to a year.
Price rises were inevitable because of unprecedented movements on the global energy markets. We had been warned that this was coming, but that will bring little comfort to the thousands of households across Northern Ireland already facing a cost of living squeeze as we head into the colder, darker months. Clodagh Rice, BBC Newsline.
The SDLP MP Claire Hanna says she believes the Assembly will survive in spite of the DUP's threat to withdraw its ministers if its concerns over the protocol aren't addressed. The party leader, Sir Geoffrey Donaldson, is insisting he is not backtracking on the issue. Meanwhile, the Northern Ireland office told the parties it's preparing to introduce Irish language legislation at Westminster. Our correspondent Mark Simpson reports.
There's a lot hanging over Stormont as winter approaches. The protocol, differences over Irish language legislation, legacy proposals, and there's an election looming. So can the Assembly survive the next few months? During an online debate today, the SDLP's Claire Hanna said she thought it could.
I think on balance it will persist.
She said bringing down Stormont would be pointless.
The reality is all of the things that people are upset about the protocol or maybe Irish language legislation or abortion regulations, all of those things are coming from Westminster anyway and will persist even if local decision making is ripped away from people here.
Sir Geoffrey Donaldson keeps saying he's prepared to pull his ministers out of Stormont if he doesn't get what he wants on the protocol. The question remains, when?
Well, I'm monitoring the situation on a daily basis. I'm consulting with my senior leadership team in the party, and we will make a call on this when we think the time is right to make a call on it. So, the next short period is going to be absolutely crucial.
The EU and the UK are talking, while the DUP is waiting. Lord Frost and Maros Šefčovič met in London today, but once again there was no meeting of minds. Afterwards, a government spokesperson said, "Our position remains that substantial changes to the protocol will be needed." On a different issue, it seems that some changes are about to happen. The Northern Ireland office is pressing ahead with plans to introduce legislation at Westminster, which includes provisions for the Irish language. A letter has been sent by the NIO to political parties, inviting them to a meeting about the introduction of the legislation, which will take place as soon as parliamentary time allows. Back at Stormont, it may look calm, but on many of the key issues, decision time is now approaching. Mark Simpson, BBC Newsline.
The Department of Health is to get an extra £200 million as the result of a budget reallocation exercise at Stormont. Our economics and business editor John Campbell is here with us. So John, now this is separate from what was announced in the budget earlier this week. So take us through who is getting what and how much, and it seems that health is the big winner.
Yeah, this is money which came to Stormont from Westminster a little earlier this year but hadn't been allocated yet. There was about £250 million on the table. If we have a look at the numbers, we can see who got what. And as you say, health is a big winner. It gets £80 million to deal with some continuing pandemic pressures, £70 million to deal with pay awards. A 3% pay award can now be honoured, £30 million to start with the mammoth task of clearing waiting lists, and £15 million to go directly to the health trusts. Now, aside from health, education is getting £21 million. And about 7 or 8 million of that goes to the special needs sector. And then infrastructure is getting £500,000, and that is for a project to try and encourage more people to become taxi drivers, because we know there's been huge pressure on the taxi industry in recent months. Don't have the precise details of how that's going to work, but it'll be interesting to see if it will have any effect.
Indeed. John, many thanks. A 53-year-old man has appeared before Craigavon Magistrates Court charged with murder after a man's body was found at a house outside Portadown. It's understood that 63-year-old Stephen Barraskill died on Tuesday, but his body wasn't discovered until Wednesday at this property at Whitesides Hill. Conor Lawrence McNeil, who's from Whitesides Hill, is also accused of possessing a gun and ammunition with intent to endanger life. He was remanded in custody until next week. The latest COVID figures from the Department of Health show that another 7 people have died after testing positive for the virus. And there have been 1,321 new cases recorded in the latest 24-hour period. A motorcyclist who died after a collision with a car in Dunseverick in North Antrim yesterday afternoon was the former DUP and TUV councillor David Tweed. The crash happened just after 4:30 on the White Park Road. Mr Tweed was capped 4 times for Ireland before being elected to Ballymena Borough Council. In 2012, he was convicted of child sex abuse charges and served 4 years of an 8-year sentence before the conviction was quashed in 2016. A County Down singer who appeared on the BBC show The Voice has been found guilty of exposing himself in view of a 12-year-old girl. Jeffrey Anderson was convicted of committing a lewd act and outraging public decency. BBC Newsline Sarah Garvin reports.
The trial of 31-year-old Jeffrey Anderson of the Crawfordsburn Road in Newtonards started on Monday, but due to a reporting restriction, the media was banned from covering the case until a verdict was reached. The court was told that a 12-year-old girl had witnessed Anderson carrying out a sex act in his mother's BMW sports car, which was parked on St Jude's Parade in South Belfast in June 2018. She said it made her feel worried and uncomfortable. Anderson had denied the charge against him, but today a jury convicted him unanimously after deliberating for just 2 hours. The court was told that Anderson was given a 3-year suspended sentence for voyeurism last year after admitting secretly recording 11 women over a period spanning from 2005 to 2013. Today, a judge told Anderson that he should prepare for a possible prison sentence. He'll be sentenced in December. Sarah Garr from BBC Newsline at Belfast Crown Court.
This weekend, the International UN Climate Change Conference, COP26, begins in Glasgow. More than 120 world leaders and negotiating teams will gather to set goals and reach agreements on how to tackle the climate crisis. But what does it all mean? Here's our agriculture and environment correspondent, Louise Cullen.
This is the 26th conference of the parties, hence COP26. And it's significant because now the world agrees humans are changing the climate and the time to limit that damage has almost run out.
There's three sort of big things. There's climate change, there's the loss of biodiversity, and that's biology in all its facets. And we're suffering a major extinction crisis all over the world and even in Northern Ireland. And then finally, pollution and waste and how we actually deal with our consumption of resources.
Over the next 2 weeks, you'll hear a lot about net zero, when the amount of greenhouse gases going into the atmosphere is balanced by the amount removed. And it's important because it's then the planet stops heating up. So how are those emissions removed? Well, through planting trees, of course, and restoring peatlands, which are carbon sinks that can capture and lock away emissions. But most of our peatlands, 86% in fact, are damaged. And Northern Ireland is one of the least forested parts of Europe, with just 8% woodland cover. So cutting emissions in the first place is crucial. And of course, Northern Ireland is the only part of the UK, of these islands in fact, to not have climate change legislation. 2 bills are in progress, one with a goal of net zero by 2045, the other aiming for an 82% reduction by 2050. They're in a race against the clock as this Assembly's term ticks down. So that's at Stormont. What needs to be achieved in Glasgow?
We've been hearing a lot about too much talk and not enough action. We need to see governmental action, because without that, we aren't going to see the high-level changes that we need in terms of green jobs, in terms of massive insulation programs, in terms of investment in renewable energy, and in terms of moving away from fossil fuels.
For Northern Ireland, the big issues are agriculture, transport and energy. But at the root of it all are our choices and our behaviours. Next week, I'll be live in Glasgow for BBC Newsline, and I'll be finding out how the decisions taken there might affect all our lives.
Well, before Louise leaves for Glasgow, she's with us now. And Louise, we're on the eve of this huge conference, and yet Northern Ireland still doesn't have a climate change bill. Why not?
Well, there's been discussion recently, Catherine, about trying to find a compromise between those 2 bills that I mentioned in that piece that are in progress at the minute. And the big issue, of course, is the target for cutting emissions between net zero by 2045 and an 82% reduction by 2050. That's the Minister's bill. And he's written to Claire Bailey, who has the other more ambitious bill, asking her to confirm that it'll be his more conservative approach that goes ahead with amendments. She's responded with a proposal that, after amendments, her bill should go ahead as an enhanced bill. And she says, given the nature of discussions so far, there is no reason to have any more. Well, we're about to go into COP26. There are no climate change legislation in place here in Northern Ireland. The 2 bills will continue separately, and this is going to be a long few months to get one of them over the line.
Many thanks, Louise, and I'm sure we'll see lots of you from Glasgow over the next few days. A West Belfast residents group is taking legal action again to try to stop plans to build a new GAA stadium at Casement Park. The Moorland and Owen Barra Residents Association is attempting to overturn planning permission, which was granted back in July. The GAA says it's very disappointed, but it remains heartened by the widespread support it has for the new stadium. Kevin Sharkey reports.
The old Casement Park and grounds have been derelict for years now. No games, no fans. And the plans to change that have faced obstacle after obstacle. 7 years ago, members of the Residents Association succeeded in a legal challenge against plans for a stadium with a capacity of 38,000 fans. They're now opposing plans for a reduced capacity of 34,500. They claim the minister granted planning permission despite planning officials stating in a previous report that it would have an unacceptable impact on the amenities of people living nearby by reason of overshadowing, loss of light and general disturbance.
The Residents' Association represent a small part of the wider community here in West Belfast, and alongside their opposition there's strong support around here and in the wider GAA community in County Antrim. Dozens of clubs and thousands of GAA players of all ages wanting a new county ground.
There's a significant voice that's not being represented, who actually are in support of the redevelopment of Casement Park.
Responding to the planned legal action, the Casement Park Project Board says it's very disappointed, but it remains heartened by the vast support for the project locally and throughout Antrim and Ulster. While the latest legal challenge continues, the GAA community continues to wait for a new county and provincial ground. Kevin Sharkey, BBC Newsline in West Belfast.
Now for some good news, Halloween is back with a bang in Londonderry this weekend, the home of all things Halloween, after of course being cancelled last year due to coronavirus. This year's theme is Awakening the Walled City. Well, let's get more from our arts correspondent, Robbie Meredith, who is in Derry for us this evening as excitement builds. Robbie.
Yes, Catherine, this really is the place that does Halloween better than anywhere outside of Transylvania, I guess. I'm in the massive St Colum's Park in Derry. As you can see, it's full of things that go bump in the night. The crowds are already out to see that. But as my colleague Kieran Tourish has been finding out, this is just the start of Derry's big Halloween weekend.
Everington Square will play host to a spectacular visual event capturing the essence of Halloween. It'll use film, animation, special effects and augmented reality to bring the ghosts and ghouls alive.
We've 5 worlds to explore right across the northwest, but here in the city we have a huge spread of activity with almost 70 installations to see.
The council says there's no carnival parade this year, but it may return in future years. While these colourful characters may not be on parade, many are still packing the shops to ensure they're looking their best for the weekend. And some people say they're planning a different approach this year.
Just keeping it in the family this year rather than, I think we're going to avoid maybe the town as well this year just to be sure.
Well, I think we have to be careful, especially with indoor gatherings and that. So looking forward to Halloween.
If everybody can keep safe and keep masks on if needed in big places and like that, I don't believe it'll be that much of a problem for the cases in Derry.
So with literally thousands of people out and about this weekend enjoying the festivities, the key message from council is to stay safe, wrap up warm and expect the unexpected. Kieran Tourish, BBC Newsline, Derry.
So Halloween really is back with teeth this year in Derry. It's all started tonight already, continues all weekend and finishes with fireworks by the Foyle on Sunday night. Catherine.
Robbie, looks great. Now, sport with Stephen Watson. And Stephen, news of a Paralympic great calling time on her career.
Yes, thank you, Catherine. The alpine skier Kelly Gallagher today announced her retirement from the sport. The Bangor athlete, who is visually impaired, made history when she became the first Paralympian from Team GB to win gold at the Winter Games. Along with her guide, Charlotte Edwards, Kelly won the Super G competition at Sochi in 2014.
3, 2, 1, let's go.
On the slopes, Kelly Gallagher has carved out a remarkable record-breaking career. But there's a very good reason she's hanging up her skis.
In July, just as I was preparing to go back on snow, I found out that I was pregnant again. So this is baby number 2, and now we're in October, November kind of time. Everything seems to be going well with all the scans, and I think that it was probably going to be my last season as well. I was trying to make it to 1 more games, which will be happening in March around due date time. So yeah, we've got time to call it a day and reflect on the adventure that I've had, really.
And what an incredible journey she's been on. Kelly won 9 World Championship medals, but her highlight is that history-making Paralympic Games 7 years ago.
Sochi, I was going to win 5 gold medals in my head. That's what I'd focused on. So actually it was a massive disappointment personally for me. And then when I got home, everyone helping me celebrate with a gold medal, and then realising I was the first, that it was such a big deal. And then how it's helped the rest of the team, you know, the younger athletes develop. It kind of set the ball rolling in that way. And I've loved that, definitely. It's helped maybe athletes with visual impairments here in Ireland kind of go like, oh, I could do that.
Along the way, there have been many setbacks and multiple injuries sustained while competing in this high-risk sport. But Kelly wouldn't change a thing.
It was strange saying goodbye to something that caused me so much pain and excitement at the same time. You know, like winning medals and going racing is like, it's been such a privilege and an adventure. And then at the same time, it is nice to say goodbye to lugging a whole load of weight, like literal weight, around the countries of Europe and ski racing and getting up in the morning and putting myself at like severe risk all the time when I've been racing. So I suppose as well with the pandemic, when we have been at home so much, it just seems I miss it so much, you know. So now that it's kind of all settled down, I guess there is a little bit of like, what now? Like, what do I do now?
For now, family is her focus, and she has plenty of inspirational bedtime stories to tell. Good luck to Kelly. Now, last year, the Camogie team from the newly formed East Belfast GAA club played its first ever game when they took on Calif. This weekend, the two teams meet again in the Down Junior final. And as Mark Sidebottom reports, East Belfast are not just looking for silverware, but a ground to call their own.
The fireworks over Falls Park last night provided a perfect backdrop to what's been a stellar story. East Belfast Camogues are on a roll. Still without a home, but very much a family.
It would be amazing to have a base and have a home. We're constantly kind of trying to find pitches and train. We've trained on rugby pitches, hockey pitches, astroturfs. We've gone a good part of the year not even seeing hurling posts.
Just last year they played their first competitive game and lost heavily. This season, they're unbeaten.
These girls are my world. I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of everything this club has accomplished. Not just the Camogues, but the hurlers are in the championship on Saturday as well against Calif. The ladies football won the junior plate. If you had asked us last year that we would all be in championship and we'd be winning trophies and winning medals and continuing on to finals, I think we would have laughed at you.
They've over 80 registered adult Camogie players and counting. Whatever the outcome of Sunday's final, it seems East Belfast Camogues are already winning. Mark Sidebottom, BBC Newsline, Falls Park, Belfast.
In golf, Graham McDowell is tied 14th at the Bermuda Championship. He's 5 shots off the lead. And finally, a reminder, we have live local football for you tonight. Carrick Rangers Glentoran is on the iPlayer from 7:30. Derry City Bohemians is on Radio Foyle. Back to you, Catherine.
Stephen, many thanks. Now let's get the weather forecast with Angie for the Halloween weekend. Is it looking suitably scary, Angie?
At times it is actually, Catherine. Yes, it is the Halloween weekend and the clocks go back on Sunday morning as well. It will be feeling autumnal, it's cool, will be unsettled at times with rain or showers, but not all bad news. There is some sunshine in there too, particularly for tomorrow. Now we had some lovely sunshine today. This afternoon it brightened up after a dull, damp start. Lovely hazy sunshine over the Cooley Mountains there, taken from Ross Trevor, and it's still fairly clear at the moment, but upwind we have further showery bursts of rain. We have a south-southwesterly wind, so yes, they're coming our way as we go through this evening. Some of that rain could be heavy in places before clearing north. Then we're left with clear spells and scattered showers for the second half of the night. By that stage, temperatures dip back to between 6 and 8 degrees. Now tomorrow, not a bad day. There'll be a fair amount of dry weather around, some sunshine too. Yes, there will be areas of cloud, also a few showers, those mostly in the north and west, but I think most places will avoid those. But even with the sunshine, temperatures a degree or two down again on today at around 9 to 11 degrees. Of course, tomorrow night, yes, the clocks do go back an hour in the early hours of Sunday morning. We're saying goodbye to British summertime. You may well be glad of that extra hour in bed because of the weather, because not only is it cool, low pressure comes in tomorrow night. That's going to bring wet and windy weather, brisk southeasterly winds. Then during the day itself on Sunday, Halloween itself, bright spells and blustery blustery showers will follow. The southeasterlies lull for a time, but they swing around from the northwest later in the day, bringing more frequent showers, more widespread showers, and some of those could be heavy. So not great news for Sunday evening if you're out and about for Halloween. Those northwesterlies, cool northwesterlies, still with us as we go into next week with a mixture of bright spells and showers.
Angie, thank you. Have a safe weekend to all those out and about and enjoy the Lion on Sunday. Bye-bye.